grade.
I could not say. Children are.
This is an incredible thing.
We'll sing Children Are You.
All my favorite people are here. All the friends and the divas. That's great. All right, I guess you should. Everybody got a drink? Everybody got something to eat?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, I got something to drink. Thank you all for coming. This is really exciting. I'm
happy for you.
I'm really excited about this. I hope it, my goal is to be a #1 bestseller, so.
Oh, yeah, you're looking at it next month.
Yeah, it's in the works. Grace, come sit down.
I'm gonna eat real quick, and I just wanna make sure the puppy is.
Okay, all right, all
Did you
right.
bring the puppy?
Yes, Michaela's
Here,
here.
here in her crate.
She's overwhelmed.
She is.
Uh-oh, somebody, who's moving? The camera woman's back.
Yeah,
All of a sudden I see it moving on my phone toward us, and I'm like,
okay, now, Grace, we can get comments, if they make comments.
I'm not sure.
We just read
So
it.
they type in, see where the side where everything's
Scroll down
at?
with your mouse, scroll down and
Yeah.
see some more comments.
I'll put it over. Is this yours?
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, you just gotta keep it at the bottom. What they do is if they write in the comment, we can read it and then you can answer to it.
That sounds great, okay. Somebody can, I got,
Mama is there.
hey, you're on.
She's just
I got these new glasses a couple of days ago, I can't see a damn thing. Yeah, how these? Oh.
That's why you keep those youngins around.
Anyway, somebody's coming up the wall.
That's the sidecar.
That's sidecar. All right.
Okay,
Sidecar, did you get something you can drink?
I need to read
Here's in the
it.
fridge.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, wine's out there, soda, everybody got everything?
We got water, we got beer.
All right, we're here to talk about my book. I guess most of you have read it, and let's throw the floor open to questions. Anybody have a question?
I have a question.
Okay.
Character development.
Just a minute, this is Grace.
Hey! Character development. Do you think of your characters before you start writing the book, or do they evolve as you are writing the book?
They're born as I wrote.
Okay.
It was, the story, of course, is told from the point of view of an 8-year-old. And I started with her and her suspicions. She wanted to know what this was all about. And it just evolved. I got to a point in the story where I thought, something's got to happen. What could possibly happen at this point? And I tried different avenues until one worked. And that's how, my favorite character is Jedediah. That's how he evolved. Because Tobias had to have somebody to offset him. So that's how Jedediah evolved.
Okay, I got a silly question.
Okay, just stop.
Nothing silly.
This is silly. Charlotte's nickname. How do you say Charlotte's nickname?
Nickname.
That Tay calls her.
His pet name.
Oh,
I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yes, that's a good question. I like.
now they're Lenape names. Okay.
That's okay.
And quite honestly, I have no goddamn.
I know one part of it. At the end, where I think it says Clet, that just means the diminutive of.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
all those
yes.
names that end in that, what is it, CLET?
Something like that.
Something
yes.
like that. That
Yes.
just, it's the diminutive of
Yeah.
that name.
There is a website. Well, there were several websites that I used because the Lenape language is different. Just as the Italian language and the French language, it's dialectal. And like when I talk about the Almighty, the God, it's written differently in different dialects, and I had to kind of narrow it down to northern Jersey. And most of these come out of Trenton, New Brunswick, that area, because there is a big settlement up there. And there was an older person, I believe the person was well in their 80s when I started, who actually sat there and said the words so that you could hear them. I don't know if that site is still alive, but it was very interesting. And I'll tell you, some of them I could never pronounce because they're guttural. You've got to be able to click your tongue and do all kinds of different things that don't happen. But they are all real, every one of them.
No, there's a question on
A question.
Oh, question. Ooh.
Hillbilly.
Is there any element of truth in the story?
Family history that I've dispelled, if that means anything. Charlotte is, Charlotte is a compilation of everything I've ever heard about how my mother was raised. Diana in the story is my mother.
That's what I thought.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes, and Danny would possibly be me because I would have been the right age. Auntie would be the woman who raised my mother. And therein lies the twist to the story, because nobody is, well, I don't know if anybody's sure of my mother's parentage. I've always been told my mother was Lenape, partly Lenape. And Opie said to me one day, well, if you want to know, why don't you send your sample into one of these things? So she got me 23 and, what is it?
23andMe.
23andMe. So I sent it in and it came back. And I have no American Indian.
What?
Really?
Did it come back European?
Isn't that something?
Huh?
Did you have European?
Yes, but
Okay, so Native American comes back as European.
yes, but the European goes to Italy, mostly on my father's side.
Okay.
I mean, they've absolutely dialed in on that.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I have nothing that could even get me back to any part of American Indian.
Okay.
So
Back to Paulie's point. Danny starts this in 1951 as an 8-year-old.
right,
And you were born in 1943.
right.
Right.
So you are Danny.
Well, I could be. Yes. Danny and I had the same questions, but not the same outcome.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
I understand.
Okay.
How long did it take you to write the book?
Oh, I've been writing this book for, let's see.
Since you were 8.
No. Well, really, I think the question's been there because I always wondered where my ancestry came from. I've heard so much about my mother and I know very little about her. She died when I was 11. So I really don't know, and anybody who did know is long gone. And the only person I have to rely on that knows anything is my sister, my only living sister. My other sister died. So my middle sister, Anita, and I sent her the book. And she read it and she called me and congratulated me and did all this stuff. And I said to her, do you know where the story comes from? She said, of course. And she started babbling away. And I said to her, did you know that we have no Indian blood? What? You know, so she was under the same misconceptions that I was all these years. So, It's interesting, isn't it?
I only, excuse me, I only got the book last night and just dove into it, and I'm enjoying it so much.
Thank you.
The one thing that struck with me was Tay's severity and making sure that when they are leaving after they get married, well, that after, well, okay, so they're leaving. He chooses Princeton as the university to go to because he didn't want anybody to know where they were, and I thought that was really smart because of the father's domineering within the storyline.
Now, that was contrived. And the reason I chose those two, because originally I had them going to New York. And the reason I chose those was it was close enough proximity to Camden. They're both about equidistant from Camden. And if they ever had to come back to the beginning point for any reason, it would be the same route. And besides that, it was the only maps I could find.
From that time frame. is what you're saying?
Yeah. It's very difficult to
Yeah,
trace.
I'm sure, because you're trying to pick a time frame within a certain period, and you're trying to get as much history from that period of time, and specifically for that area,
Yeah.
there had to be a lot of background research going into it, I can imagine.
Well, there's awful lot online, and then, of course, Library of Congress was enormous help.
Really?
Because, yeah, if you write to them and you have,
Really?
specific details, they will find anything you want, and they will send it to you via email.
Cool.
So, you know,
Oh, what did I do?
you didn't do anything.
Lift up those.
You went to sleep.
No, the TV,
computer.
the TV, yeah, no, the little one.
This?
The little one, okay, thank you.
Okay, what do I do? There it is. It's up on here now.
Yeah,
I think
well,
the TV
little
went to
one.
The TV timed out.
The TV went to sleep.
It's probably, the laptop's probably in the way. Maybe of the beam.
No, it won't be, most in the way, maybe. Of the beam.
Technical difficulty. Please said.
Time out, stand by. Technical difficulties.
We're still on. Now, if that happens again, just go to
Each
that
line?
one. Yeah, two.
Okay.
Two.
Oh, my God.
We're back in live. Now Cheryl said something.
Slide down on the mouse because Cheryl made a comment.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah. I was amazed how that, okay.
There you
Who's gonna read it?
Go ahead.
I was amazed at your ability to be so detailed in descriptions of surroundings, events, and people within the book. It gave me a full understanding throughout the book. Great job, Lexi.
Well, thanks, Cheryl. That's terrific. It's pretty easy, you know, they
What the
become,
hell she put on her?
Oh, Lord, Vicky will be.
Vicky will be right there.
So I have a question. First of all, I've told you a million times, I loved this book. It was just
Well, thank
amazing.
you.
I still think about it. I feel like I know each of those characters. I'm looking for a guy like Tay. Anybody knows anyone like that, please send them my way. Did you ever find a tattered black book when you were a kid?
no, but I'll tell you what happened. When the woman that we called Auntie died, and we went to her house, we found so many things. I mean, my father finally said, stop. He wouldn't let anybody take anything out of the house. We pulled every drawer out, and there were things pasted under every drawer in that house.
Really?
Under the carpeting, she had, I don't know who had done it originally, but they had put things under the carpet, you know, that were like padding, but she had things hidden there. She had money. Little nooks and crannies everywhere. You know, and she had up in her bedroom, Anita calls it, my sister Anita calls it the room of mirrors, and she told a funny story about that. But anyway, in that room, and that's where the built-in Schiffer comes from. because that was in her bedroom. It was wall to wall, and it had several doors, and they were all mirrored with things. And there were actually, you lifted the floorboards up, and there was stuff in there when Dad was moving stuff out of the house. I was little when this was being done.
Wow.
Because Auntie died, my mother died when I was 11, and I think Auntie died when I was 12, just a year later. Because I wasn't very old, so it was very interesting. Everywhere, in lampshades, I mean, you would, anywhere you looked, she had stuff. And then she had this root cellar that he was sure we should dig up the whole damn thing. But we never did, or maybe he did, I don't know.
So when you say stuff, is it like letters and pictures other than money?
Yeah, letters and pictures and affidavits and birth certificates, but nothing about my mother. Auntie's birth certificate I had until my stepmother threw it away. That's another story. That's another book.
She's already got a couple in the works.
But anyway, it was probably 3 feet wide, 3 feet tall, and it was all hand calligraphy with birds and, oh, it was beautiful. But that's what they did. She was born, she was in her 90s, I think, when she died, maybe late 80s. And she died, it would probably be 1951, 52. So she was born somewhere late 80s. I remember her telling me once that her father saw Lincoln give the Gettysburg Address.
Wow.
So, you know, so.
Okay, Paula wrote a comment.
Oh, thank you. Oh, okay.
None of us did.
I don't want it to end. Sequel.
Right?
When I picked up the book, I was thinking,
You did it?
I couldn't put it down.
Did you like
Oh,
it?
I absolutely love the entire thing, but yes.
I was afraid I wasn't pulling that off because it's been a long time since I've been near her.
Oh, yes, you did.
You did an awesome job.
Fantastic job.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not there yet, so.
I've just started the book, but I'm just amazed by your ability to, just like what Radar said, to use such descriptive terms. Like, just a few pages in, I was sucked in and I was there. I was just there. And I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Well,
I did the same thing. I sat down last night. I was like, I need to read at least a few pages for the 60 pages. I read 60 pages last night.
Wow.
I took the dog out, the puppy out, and was reading the book.
I love the way you, and I've never seen this before, is when you ended a certain section, you said, and then it was Friday, and then the next section. Friday, the 13th of whatever. And I love the way you ended a section like that and then went right into the date that you ended it with.
You know, a lot of books that I've read that are flashbacks, I always wondered, now how did this come in here? Well, how did we go from there to there? So I wanted to be very careful. You knew where I was taking you each step of the way because I'm flipping back and forth and I'm changing points of view back and forth.
It was smooth.
So,
It was. That was
Thank
really
you.
smooth.
thank you, thank you.
Uh-oh, well, I'm trying to move the comment, there it is. Well, I'm not, who is Bridget Plunkett? Oh, that's, okay, I thought her name was Duncan, okay.
Thanks, Bridget. I hope she got a book. Bridget, did you get a book? Can you hear me, Bridget?
Like there's a delay.
Oh, I hope so. See,
Oh, maybe she'll come back.
maybe she'll come back. I hope
You
she-
can always type in there.
You can write it. You can write it.
that means
Reply
getting
to
up
them.
and typing.
Yeah, don't do that. I said, the whole
I'm not
setup
screw it up.
here. Yeah, wait a minute, I need a little more beer.
This Bridget is not our Bridget.
Oh,
from
no,
Bridget's
that's
Auto
that
Works.
was-
Her
Our
name's
Bridget is
Duncan.
Bridget Duncan, right, right.
Yeah,
Oh, well, who's Bridget?
and she
I
doesn't
don't
spell her name like that.
Yes,
Our
that's
Bridget,
B-R-I-G-I-T.
it has no D in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
She has an IT.
it's an I-T also at the end.
She's from,
Bridget.
Bridget from.
It's not
yeah.
Bridget from yesterday.
There's a delay.
Let's spell it correctly.
Okay. Okay. Well, everybody here got a book, right?
I did not yet.
You need to get one.
Hand her one.
And you will be signing these, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I just have to say, if I show up in your next book, could I be a little taller? Big blonde for a change?
No, I don't tend to write about people in the present. I find that disconcerting because I sure as hell wouldn't want to read about me.
But after, you can write about us.
She can say what she wants.
So you think you'll ever write a book involving motorcycles?
Oh, sure. Absolutely, but I'll probably take you back to 1910.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I love the cycles.
Do you have some sort of a journal that you write all the
No.
things in? You just remember it?
No, the idea just comes to me. Like this book was in my mind for I don't know how long. And I talked to the sister that died, Angela.
Yeah.
She would write books. She was an author of 6 cookbooks. Her name's Angela Moy, by the way, if you want to get a hold of a good cookbook. She's got some really interesting stuff. I have a couple of copies if you'd like to read it, but she would spend, I lived with her for 10 years, and she was very disciplined, and every morning she'd get up about 6, get the coffee pot on, and she'd spend from about 6 till about 3 in the afternoon writing. And then from 3 until about 7, I'd taste test. I'd sit on one side of the counter and she'd be on the other side of the counter and she'd concoct a recipe. And then the next day she'd write.
Wow.
You know, and
And
it
she was
was,
older?
she was 6 years older than me. So, anyway, I had, at one point in time, I had a political website called The Quack and Duck. that was quite controversial. And my biggest fans were the kids at West Virginia, University of West Virginia.
Hear that, Polly?
I had
Quackenbushes.
I probably had about 3,000 of them.
Wow.
That at one time were my fans, and some of them are still my fans today. They still keep in touch with me. Anyway, I gave that up because the demographics on it started to narrow. And I kept wondering why. Well, they narrowed down to the biggest audience I had outside of West Virginia was the White House. Not the government, the White House. And that demographic just kept growing. And at that point in time, Mr. Obama was on a warpath, closing down certain sites, so I thought I'm gonna make the jump. Yeah, he really was. And so I made the jump and closed down mine before I said anything that quite offended him. I wasn't really after him, I was after Nancy Pelosi.
But that's another one.
Okay.
So anyway, I got really bored after that. So I started to write. How long did it take you to write the book? How long did it take you to get it published? Now, published is a whole nother thing. writing the book, actually, I wrote the book, once I decided to sit down and write it, I think I did the first draft in less than a month.
Wow.
Polishing it and deciding what should remain in it or where I needed to add things or making the transitions the way I wanted probably took me another several years.
Wow.
It just takes a long time to get it where you want. The story's easy to do. The story, you just put it down. But then you gotta think, well, they never been in her living room. I got to describe it. And you got to picture it in your head and then describe it. And then how are they going to get from Camden to Trenton? How are they going to get from Camden to New Brunswick? So then you got to research. And all of that takes a long time. The story's easy. It's the filling, the stuff that makes the story grow. So it takes a long time. Now, publishing is another thing. I probably to date have had close to 300 rejections.
Wow.
Yeah. Until I got two self-publishing people that were hounding me about it. And they were the wrong thing for me. They're scams. They kind of cost a lot of money, $4,000 or $5,000, and then leave you by the wayside, and you don't get a product that you can even be proud of. So anyway, when Atmosphere said he wanted to do this, he would only do it if I paid half the freight of doing it. And it was very reasonable. And they were excellent. I would recommend Atmosphere to anybody. Nick was just so patient with me. I can't tell you, for a first-time author, he just took me by the hand and walked me through the whole process. And I would go to him, I'd write to him, and I'd say, "You think I could change this? Don't worry about it. We'll get it changed. It's already in print. We'll get it changed." And it didn't cost me another dime. They were just fabulous to work with.
But they were the ones too who got her set up with all the major book outlets, Amazon, Books A Million, all those places. And she retains the total rights to the book.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that's
She didn't have to give anything away. So basically, she paid for the paper to get these out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So the cover that was done, is this by an artist you know?
No, that was done by Atmosphere.
By Atmosphere?
Atmosphere. We went back and forth. Several iterations until I got something that I could live with.
I like it.
Yeah,
I do too. I do too. It's, it kind of stands out.
It's eye-catching. I mean, if I was in a bookstore and was looking along, I would look at that cover
Yeah.
before I look at some of the other ones that I've seen.
Yeah.
So.
So what led to Tobias's parents, brothers and sister, being killed that way?
Just,
We gotta be careful. Spoiler alerts for people that
That's why I said never heard of porn.
We're not going there?
No.
Is it true? Is it true?
it happened. In the days when the Indians were furious about the laws that were being passed, where they were just pushed off their property and shoved into some godforsaken place out west where they couldn't even find decent water. Yes, it happened.
Okay.
That's
I
in the
mean,
history books.
Yeah. I mean, it happened all the time, and it happened in New Jersey.
It happened in New York.
So
In the city itself.
yeah.
Yes, the whole eastern seaboard, that whole area there.
Disappeared. They
Yeah.
have no idea what happened to that settlement.
Yeah.
They think it was the Indians.
Yes.
Lenape related to, or does this even happen to like Apache or Navajo or their own tribe?
Yeah.
But are they derivative from the larger ones like that?
The Lenape used to be part of the, Great Algonquin.
Yes,
Okay.
Then eventually-
That's my question.
Canada, and then they
Yep.
came down through New York and
Yep.
Jersey and Mass and the whole area.
Yep,
And they
yep.
broke off into the, what is it, 7 tribes, I
Yeah.
believe.
Gotcha.
Now, the interesting thing about the Lenape was I don't know whether it was just, section by section, small tribe by small tribe. They were given the option. The United States government gave every Indian in the United States the option of laying down their arms and becoming a citizen. I mean, this is long before they were made citizens. If they would just lay down their arms, and then they could farm the country that they lived on and stay there.
I
Well,
got another one, I'm just waiting.
the
for it to
ones
send.
the ones in the West, of course, said no, and they started fighting. But the Lenape tribes voted, and part of them decided they would lay down their arms. Okay, so they became assimilated into the population. And the Lenape, when I thought I had Indian blood in me, my sister and I were running a small publishing firm. And of course, you get all kinds of benefits from the government.
Yes.
If you are a minority. Well, here we were, women, and we're Indian. So we told them we were Lenape, that we had Lenape blood in our mother. Was a quarter Lenape, made us an eighth. That's what we thought. We honestly thought that.
Yeah.
So anyway, they came back and they said there is no Lenape tribe.
I got it.
We said, well, what are you talking about? Of course there's Lenape. I mean, I know.
Hey, come on in.
Hi, how are you? Sticks is here.
Got a chair right there.
So it wasn't until, wow, it wasn't until after we had closed the publishing firm that the government finally acknowledged the fact that the Lenape were actually an Indian tribe.
Wow.
I never heard of them. If you look it up and being from that area, I've never heard of them before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, around
Wow,
Philadelphia,
yeah.
there's the Lenape Valley and all that.
Colleges are named
Yeah.
for their teams and
Lackawanna
Yeah, all-
College is
yeah.
from the Lenape tribe.
many, many.
There used to be, I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be a working settlement that we're down again, Bugsy.
Yeah, oh crap.
Went to sleep.
Okay, what do I,
You just, the little one.
The little one on the table.
The little one on the table, just press the stick, the little one. The little one. We just press the stick.
I am no Becky. We got it?
No, you might need to turn it on again.
Just the power button?
Yeah, try it again.
There, it's on.
It'll come down to 2.
Yeah, HDMI too.
There you are.
Thank
He's got questions.
My middle name's IT.
you. Okay.
Peggy's got a question.
Yeah, there's a question here from Peggy.
Of course.
Scroll down.
I'm always writing something.
Can I read the first draft?
Sure.
I'll be the proofreader, yes. Any idea what
What it would be.
What are you writing into the book? Any ideas of what it would be? Well, I'm writing one that I'm not real pleased with because I don't know what to do with it. Yeah, I'm still trying to dream up what happens next. And this one has taken me longer than I would have imagined. And it's about, I had some dear friends that were Irish. and they told me some stories about their grandparents. I'd like to write about powerful women that nobody knows.
Chrome Diaz.
Nobody knows.
Okay, what happened to our picture?
You know,
Yeah, it's in the
There you go.
Right now.
Take the mouse up.
Take the mouse up, Grace.
Take your hand up.
Take over, Grace. It's down in the corner, just wait right here.
Scroll up here, and then if you come down here and click up.
And we'll expand it.
There, okay, thank you. I'm just sitting here and twist the lazy Susan, that's my deal. I can handle
There
that.
you go.
Thank you.
Now, can I ask, with the editing process, sometimes you hear horror stories about authors and their editors just going head to head.
Oh,
How
no.
was that process for you in maintaining the original?
Oh, it could happen very easily, because if, for instance, the editor that I had, there's one point in the book, and it came down to one word I had to change. But there's one point in the book where he said I should have a head-to-head between Charlotte and her father at the dinner table. Okay? Didn't fit.
Gotcha.
It just didn't fit. So all I did was change the word. I did a couple of things. I had her relay the objections her father had and the fight she was having with her father. I had her relay this today. And I also changed one word from, what was the word I used originally? I changed it to betray instead of disappoint,
Yeah.
okay? Whole difference. It made all the difference in the world, because whether she felt she was disappointing her father or whether she felt she was betraying her father. And that it worked then.
A strong emotional tie to
Right,
the
right.
Yeah.
It has a lot of hidden meanings behind the word.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, that worked.
So good news from Hillbilly, even though the TV goes black on us, it does not go black on them.
Oh, very good. That's great.
You can see the black, it never does go down.
No, that's great. That's
So it
great.
is the TV timing out.
Yeah.
We just can't see the
TV.
comments unless we have it on.
Yeah, which of course I was. Well, I'm so glad you're here, and you two and Radar, everybody out there. I'm so glad you could be here and be part of this.
Well, we're very proud of you.
Very well said, Junior.
Thank you so much.
I had no idea, and I just feel so proud of you and just so inspired by you.
Exactly, and that's what we were saying on the way over, with everything that you guys do with your life and your outlook and how you are just so gracious with everyone, that you guys just have just the best example for the rest of us to try to be the best that we can be.
Oh, God, thank you.
We love you.
You're pretty spiffy, Lexi.
Talking about you two.
I'll be right back since you're not answering my
Are you
question.
bringing?
I have a suggestion. Could we break for like 5 minutes? Potty break, cigarette break, food break, move your legs break, whatever you want to do. And we come back in 5 minutes?
That sounds great.
Or does 10 minutes sound better?
Just